AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Welcome. If you're a woman who has a sense that there's more out there for you, you're in the right place. I'm Whitney Baker, host of the Electric Ideas podcast. Somewhere along the line of work and kids, life carried on, but I lost track of my truth. I'm on a reflective journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. Each week, I interview a woman who is lighting her own path and offering others hope. Before our conversation ends, we'll share a reflective question for you to explore. Sometimes all we need is a jolt, a fresh idea, an aha moment that connects us to a sense of possibility. This, my friends, is what I call an electric idea. Welcome back to Electric Ideas. I'm your host, Whitney Baker. Happy Thanksgiving to those in our community who are celebrating Thanksgiving today in North America. Today's episode will definitely help you justify that post-turkey nap. I'm connecting with Terry Cralle. She's a registered nurse who is certified in clinical sleep health. Terry has written multiple books about sleep and is a nationally recognized sleep and health wellness consultant. Terry's been at the front of research and advocacy in the field of sleep medicine for more than 25 years. She's a spokesperson for the Better Sleep Council and is deeply informed on the latest science when it comes to sleep. I know we all want to have a little bit of fun come holiday season, but lots of us get into an over-compromising rhythm during this time. And for women, it can lead to us just not feeling good. I hope this conversation will inspire you to see sleep as fundamental to your well-being this month and beyond. It might just change the way you view prioritization of sleep. Let's get into it. Hi, Terry. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Whitney. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Your book, Sleeping Your Way to the Top, opens in a rather provocative way.
Yes.
You posit that most Americans sleep for failure. And right off the first line, I was like, okay, tell me more. So let's start right there. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I think historically, I think we've all viewed sleep as a time waster on some level, as something that stands in the way between us and achievement, success, going up the corporate ladder, however you want to phrase it. And we haven't looked at sleep as a means to succeed, an incredible performance tool, something that actually makes us better, makes us wiser, makes us more successful in the short and long run. So I think we all have to look at ourselves carefully and say, do we have some bias that we've grown up with? There's some characterization of laziness with sleeping, weakness. We don't feel like we're doing enough in our days if we're getting, say, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So we're going to dispel that myth today for sure.
Yes, like you said, we live in a culture that devalues sleep. And I feel like sometimes you alluded to this, but sometimes I feel like there's even this air of superiority around not sleeping, like, oh, I just burn in the midnight oil, almost like it's a bragging point. Why was it so important for you in your book and in the work you do now to kind of turn this myth around that less sleep equals more productivity?
Well, I think as a registered nurse, I've seen so many people really suffer some very, very serious health problems as a lack of that respect for sleep and just not incorporating that into their lives as the essential health habit. So I've seen the physical aspects. And then as I started working with patients and then doing seminars and talking to the public in small groups, large groups, and individuals, I see a lack of sleep and that mindset holding so many people back from achieving their dreams. When I say dreams, I mean their goals and their objectives. And I'm also concerned that we as adults, if we don't get it, literally and figuratively, how are we going to pass this down to our children? And think of it, our children are so vulnerable. They really depend on adults to ensure they get the sleep they need. And I think that there's a huge knowledge gap from young children all the way up to teenagers. We're fighting to make school start times reasonable because teenagers need 9.25 hours of sleep every night. And very few teenagers are obtaining that or getting that required amount of sleep. And we see what it's doing. Think of the mental health problems. We're just not getting to where we should be. And if people would just realize that sleep is good, it's admirable. It's nothing to be, apologetic for getting your sleep, just as we're not apologetic for staying hydrated during the day or eating healthy food. We have to really refocus our lens and look at sleep as something that's just there that will help us in so many ways. And I think in a lot of ways that most people just don't understand.
Yeah, I want to dive into that educational piece because it is foundational, like nutrition and movement. I think that I really believe that. And I know you can tell us why. I want to dive into the science a little bit, starting with cognition. So,
Mhm.
what does the current science tell us about even memory consolidation that happens when we sleep?
We have to have sufficient sleep on a daily basis consistently. We can't undersleep during the week in the hopes that we can get some extra sleep on the weekend. It is so important that we get that daily sleep every day to really have the memories because we need to go through the stages. We need that 7 to 9 hours. Most all of us do. And I will stop here and say that in case your listeners believe that they're one of those short sleepers, actually, short sleepers do very well, say on 5 or 6 hours of sleep every night, but statistically, it's less than 1% of our entire population. It's a genetic variant. It tends to run in families, but chances are high that you are not a short sleeper. Now, when people don't get enough sleep on a chronic basis, they lose their point of reference. They really don't know what it feels like to be thinking sharply, to getting a lot done. And they'll attribute that to, well, I'm a certain age, or I don't like my job, or that's too hard for me. I mean, there's so many excuses when we're not looking at the root of the problem, saying it's actually a lack of sleep and we don't get sufficient sleep long enough to see the huge difference it makes. I tell people when, go on a three week sort of sleep first. I'm going to schedule sleep first in my life and see how everything else falls into place. And it's hard for people to do that, but it might take a week, 2 weeks, probably more 2 or 3 weeks if you're chronically sleep deprived to really feel this amazing difference. And it's going to be cognitively and physically. But when we don't get enough sleep, Whitney, our prefrontal cortex is drastically impacted in such a negative way. We can't manage our time. We can't make good decisions. We tend to make risky decisions. We tend to not be able to problem solve. We are definitely more irritable. We are impulsive. And think of how those things affect our lives in so many detrimental ways. We've had people come to our sleep clinic and they're tested, let's say for sleep apnea, and they're treated. They can get, let's say CPAP, and all of a sudden they're sleeping well. I had a patient come back and the husband said, "Thank you for giving me my wife back." So emotionally, relationships, how we deal with others, how we conduct ourselves, job satisfaction rates. When we're not sleeping well, we tend not to be satisfied with our work. We don't do well. We're more prone to accidents and injuries at work. We're not productive. So everything's a challenge when you don't get sleep. You can't manage your time. So you can't manage all of these things cognitively. And therefore, you just can't manage your life well. It's a huge, huge issue.
I want to reflect back what you said about people that you've seen in sleep clinics and whatnot, saying that they don't need as much sleep and how maybe they are operating on this baseline for so
Mhm.
long that they have no idea what it even feels like to sleep enough. So, if somebody wanted to do what you said and explore like a 2 or 3 week, okay, sleep's going to be my priority. At some fundamental level, I think a lot of people know it is important for them, but they don't necessarily give it enough attention, to be like, okay, I'm going
Exactly.
to really pay attention for 2 or 3 weeks. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how that would actually be a practice that someone could try? Like, would they go to bed earlier? Would they try to stack a 15 to 30 minute window on? What would you
Right.
explore?
I would say a very important thing to do is to, again, look at the requirements, and I would look across all age groups, everyone in the family, but as adults, 7 to 9 hours is the rule of thumb. But you can go online and find bedtime calculators. What time do you need to get up in the morning to get to work, to get to school, whatever. But determine your bedtime and then also have a bedtime routine. That's so incredibly important. We do it typically with children because we have to transition our minds and our bodies from wakefulness to sleep. What works and works well is that routine where you do the same things in the same order, relaxing set of getting ready for bed, avoiding bright lights, having a sleep environment that's conducive to good sleep. It could be as simple as a new mattress. How is your sleep surface? Is your room dark enough? And, I won't spend too much time on the sleep hygiene habits because it's everywhere, but getting people to actually do it. Because, to some people, I've talked to people, they say, well, that's so simple. Maybe that is the answer. But I think the first step is make time. So if you make time, then you practice good sleep hygiene. One of the main problems I run into with when I'm talking to people is the second their head hits the pillow, the worrying starts. Even if they do their bedtime routine, do relaxing things at bedtime, head hits the pillow and they start going crazy. Their mind just goes into full party mode. So what we need to do during the workday is set some time away, time apart to write down what's worrying you, what you need to do, what you have done. It's just get that on paper. Manually doing it is effective because then you can eyeball it, you can see it, and you sort of put your worries on a piece of paper, and it does help sort of reset. It helps you to see the whole picture, and it will help with that ruminating at bedtime. I think we have to look at what are the circumstances. Are you with a bed partner who is disrupting your sleep every night? We talk about sleep divorces. I hate that term because I don't want any negativity to be associated with, I need my sleep for my health and well-being. If this person whom I love dearly is interfering with that, sleep separately, it's fine. If you want a good relationship, you need good sleep, regardless of the circumstances. And I will say also that people tend to not pay attention to sleep problems, even ongoing. I see people that run to the doctor for colds and things that will maybe run its course or maybe not emergency things. But I don't see people go and talk about it with their doctors. I think sleep is a vital sign. I think sleep should be addressed at every healthcare provider appointment, whether you're there for the cold or something else. Because what if you keep getting sick? Sleep affects our immune systems in a great way. We have to get sleep to have good immunity. So we always should be discussing sleep with healthcare providers, even your dentist, anyone you see, bring it up if they don't. But we have to look at it as so foundational and really square one in a healthy lifestyle because it's that important. So really start with that 7 to 9 hours. If you don't want to get a sleep tracker, I think sleep trackers have been overstated in all over social media as being detrimental and causing worry about sleep. I think that's overstated. I think a few people may get nervous if they start tracking their sleep. I think that's very few and far between. We count our calories, we count our steps, let's count our sleep. Where are you? Some people may not know how much sleep debt they've accrued. And they don't know they're running on empty or they're not aware of it. But then they can start looking, well, I slept X amount of hours and I feel this way. Or I slept 7 to 9 and I do feel better, whether it's physically, emotionally, things like that. So I think it's good to track your sleep. And that way, also, if you are having sleep problems, you can present that to your healthcare provider and say, this is what's going on. I think it's also important we don't use this snooze button in the morning. We've got to bring that up because it's very disruptive to sleep. So when I'm telling people to go get your bedtime calculator and get your consistent bed and wake times to permit plenty of sleep, we don't want to hurt that last bit of REM sleep in the morning. And it usually is early in the morning. We're getting some REM sleep. We have sleep stages. We have the sleep stages. All of the stages are necessary for all of the repair work that sleep does for the brain and body. So we want to get all of those. And we don't want that last bit of sleep disrupted. It's better to set your alarm, put it across the room, and that is your get up time. But also think about what you can do during the day to sleep well at night. We have to make time for exercise, but too many people tell me in seminars that, well, I can't get to the gym in the morning because I've got kids or my job starts at this hour. And I say, it's okay. Studies have shown evening exercise won't necessarily interfere with sleep. It depends on a lot of things, type of exercise, your chronotype, but get exercise. And you're going to be much more motivated. I think people have to kind of look at things backwards. You're going to be more motivated to get exercise when you're well rested.
Mm.
Or we talk about weight loss. Weight gain is a huge problem with a lot of people, especially in our society now with the screens, which let me insert right here at bedtime routine. Get those screens off an hour before. Get back to reading. You'll find when you get back to reading, you'll feel this very wonderful sort of complete relaxation that sets in when you're reading in bed and turning pages instead of having the screens. You'll find it much more relaxing. But look at your daytime situation. So we want to think of our daytime habits, and I'm getting into weight loss. Well, we tend to reach for junk foods and we have more cravings when we're sleep deprived. When people start sleeping, they'll find the cravings diminish. They'll actually be more drawn to healthy foods. They'll have more time. We're better at time management when we're well rested. To make healthy meals, we can problem solve. We can get our grocery shopping done. We make better decisions. So if people are sort of in that weight loss challenge conundrum where they just can't seem to reach their dietary goals or their weight loss goals, start with sleep. Just forget the rest of it for a minute. Start with sleep, and you'll see the exercise and the dietary changes coming in quite easily if you are laying the foundation of sleep first.
Yeah, it sounds like sleep just impacts almost every corner of our lives, is what this is making clear to me and reminding me. I want to go just a little bit deeper into what you said about the snooze button. First of all, I just want to reflect back what you said, that if we're even needing an alarm regularly, that
Mhm,
maybe that means we're not getting enough sleep. So would
mhm,
you say that, because I'm someone that sets an alarm, but oftentimes I wake up when my alarm is about to
mhm,
go off
mhm.
naturally.
Right.
So
That's good.
if we wake up and we feel that urge to snooze, that's
Mhm.
probably a fair sign that maybe we're not getting enough sleep. Is
Absolutely.
okay. What happens when people press snooze, thinking that they're just being gentle with themselves or something? What happens
Yeah.
from a sleep perspective?
Well, they'll fall back asleep, but then the alarm will go back off. And so you've got this interrupted sleep cycle. And what it's going to do, first of all, don't interrupt that sleep. It's so precious every minute. And that's another caveat of it's just every minute counts. We do studies in children where they miss, say, 20 to 30 minutes at night. It's huge impact on daytime functioning. We've done research in that demographic, but in adults, it's the same. Every minute counts. So we want to be in that sleep cycle. We don't want it interrupted. But when it does get interrupted, this grogginess, we call it sleep inertia, but we tend to be more groggy. And then you're just waking up already what I call sort of compromised and not alert. And that's when I worry about people making decisions in the morning when they're groggy, still tired. If they're not fully awake, are they making good decisions and they haven't had enough sleep during the night? What's going on cognitively other than just feeling terrible? So we want to make sure we don't hit that way. And we want to understand that every minute counts and those last minutes are very, very important. REM sleep, every stage has a lot of responsibilities, but we do
Mhm.
need that for our brain, for our memory. And I think people are going to be who have not got enough sleep, they'll be pleasantly surprised. I never have anyone go back. Once they've really seen the light, as a nurse working shifts in the hospital, I will admit and confess, we didn't learn a lot about sleep, which I think is shocking. And I hope that more people in healthcare and everyone in every industry learns more about sleep and how it affects them, how it affects our functioning. But we didn't learn much about it. And it wasn't until you're not really fully your best at all on any level in any way or performance. And we get so much more out of our days. And here's another huge misconception, Whitney, that is worth noting, because this is the argument and the pushback I get all the time. I can get more done when I sleep less. And, I just pull my hair out because I say, no, you actually get more done when you get your sleep. we're so much more careful. We make fewer errors. We make better decisions. We just get it done. And then I think people realize I have more free time. I have more time to spend with my family. Things fall into place easier. It's such a not only a health situation and a health issue, it's a quality of life issue for you and then everyone around you.
Hi, it's Whitney hopping in this episode. If you've been feeling stretched thin as a mom, giving to everyone else while your own spark fades, I want to tell you about something new. It's called Back to Bright. It's a personalized 4-week coaching experience for moms who are ready to move from scattered to steady right in the middle of the messy holiday season. You heard me right. Sometimes when we feel the busiest, it's an invitation to slow down the most. I'll work with you to realign your rhythms, eliminate energy leaks, and create everyday anchors that help you feel alive so that you can contribute to your family and your passions from a place of overflow instead of depletion. I don't want you to feel like you're just getting through the days. I want you to feel lit up and alive like you're actually living in your days. I've lovingly carved out time from November through January for a handful of clients that are ready to change their relationship with their everyday. Spaces are limited because I am very careful about my own capacity in the holidays and want to make sure I can show up 100% ready to support the women who are ready to raise their hand. You can find a link in the show notes for more information. If you have any issues or questions there, you're always welcome to connect with me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman and drop me a direct message there. Okay, back to the show. I couldn't agree more with that. I realize this is a gross, perhaps oversimplification, but some of the research out there shows that there's like a cognitive cleanup process that
Yes.
happens when we're sleeping. Can you tell us what the science says about that at this point?
I think this is some of the most exciting research, and that's why I'm so monofocused into sleep health because I find it fascinating, and the research is relatively new when you think of when sleep medicine sort of made its appearance. But now we're looking at sleep and dementia and Alzheimer's and the connection. And we think that one of the vital functions of sleep is to clear toxins out of the brain at night, literally clearing those toxins. So we think there's a higher incidence of dementia in all kinds when people aren't getting enough sleep. And I don't, want to make it sound like it's this long-term thing that, I think there's so much damage that's done in the short term and long term when we don't get enough sleep and prioritize it. Or if we're trying to, slop through life with a sleep disorder that we haven't taken the time and effort to go get checked out. Are you tired all day? Do you need caffeine all day long to function? That's not normal. We shouldn't need that. I mean, I'll have a cup of coffee or two in the morning after lunch. If you can't stay awake, if there's something that's or you got up early for a flight or you had an early morning meeting, take a nap. But if you need caffeine all day long to function, something's wrong. That has to be brought to your physician or, healthcare provider's attention. Or if you can't fall asleep at night, if you're waking up continuously during the night, get checked out. Heavy snoring. If your bed partner is saying, gosh, I'm hitting you in the ribs to get you to breathe. I find this really odd, but people always, LOL, I have to elbow my husband. And, it's always funny. People laugh about it. I go to health fairs at large companies and people laugh and say, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And it's always LOL, and they don't take it seriously. Anything else I can describe and go over with these people. I can talk to them about blood pressure. They get it. I talk to them about diabetes. They get it. Talk about sleep. There is the most unusual pushback. So, I mean, it's hard to understand. I mean, I kind of don't get it, but I do get it because if they're not getting sleep, I mean, that tired brain is sort of talking back to me. Here's a good example. I'm at a Fortune 500 company talking about sleep because, workers are more productive, fewer on the job accidents. A lot of employers like me to come talk. So a man in the front row, I'm noticing, young man, he's asleep through my talk. Well, And it's funny because you'll say, well, Terry, you are boring. Well, you know what? If you're well rested and you're bored, you'll text your friends and say, I'm in this conference right now and Terry Cralle is being incredibly boring. LOL. Oh my God. That's the reaction. But if you're falling asleep, that means you're sleep deprived. So afterwards, he's a very nice gentleman. He came up to say hi and he said, I'm going to tell you I'm a short sleeper. So already I'm like, yeah, you're not a short sleeper. But he started saying he's a short sleeper. He only needs 5 hours a night and he's fine. 2 seconds later, he starts telling me about his health problems. People don't make the connection. I'm sure he's saying, what does that have to do with all of this stuff going on? And I'm thinking, you're not even 30 years old and you've got all of these health problems you're telling me about. And
Yeah,
then you say you need 5 hours. So you probably don't. Get thee to a sleep doctor now.
it's all coming back to me to the awareness, especially a lot of my community is busy moms. So I get it. It's probably easy to overlook how many nights it's been for some moms. We're not
Right.
talking about the newborn phase because that's just a whole separate situation and conversation. But I feel like if they even took 3 weeks and wrote down what time they actually went to bed, if they did do this wind down routine that we both know that they know is good for them,
Mhm,
or if it was like, yeah, I did that one night and the next night I was like still texting about
mhm.
logistics and then expected myself to go right to bed and kind of being really honest so that they have enough information to see patterns in their own life.
And that's a great point. And what I'll even add to that is the self-awareness with how that bias, because I think a lot of us can remember sort of, a parent when you're a kid or a teenager saying, get out of bed, you're being lazy. Still, there's that
Mhm.
equating sleep with laziness. So there was a recent study that I found fascinating where they interviewed a lot of men and women separately about sleep deprivation. And they were bragging about it and saying they didn't need it and sort of dismissing it. But with women, they saw themselves as self-sacrificing. See, they couched it in terms of, but I'm a good mom. I need to sacrifice for my family. And I'm showing you I'm such a good mother that after I put the kids to bed, my needs, to heck with them. They're coming first. And then I'm going to clean the whole house. And then I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to work this job. It's sort of a bragging point to say that they're going to sacrifice sleep. And with the men, they were on these interviews saying that sleep was a weakness. So they see sleep deprivation, but they say it as going without sleep as a strength and a
Hmm.
means to success. So we're still there. That was very recent. So we have to do a lot of internal assessment. Are we really sort of holding ourselves to? I mean, is it this sort of virtue signaling on some level that I don't need sleep or I'm going to sacrifice it? I tell this to new mothers and really change the way they think, hopefully, because we're very dangerous when we're sleep deprived. We're not good parents on any level. We don't parent our children well. We're quite dangerous if we drive when we're drowsy. I hate the term drowsy driving. It's so benign. It doesn't convey the real danger. It's just as dangerous. And some sleep experts will argue that it's more dangerous than drunk driving.
Hmm.
So when these, virtue signaling, I don't need sleep and I'm going to sacrifice my sleep for everyone else around me and, put my needs in a lower threshold, we have to say, no, I'm dangerous. I shouldn't be driving. I shouldn't be making this decision. I shouldn't be trying to discipline my kids fairly and reasonably or handling their tantrums and all the frustrations. We're not good emotionally. We're more aggressive. They've done studies with the teen mental health issues with sleep deprivation. Bullying and sleep deprivation are related. Aggressive behavior, impatience. We find doctors on night shift that are sleep deprived tend to prescribe less pain medication than well rested doctors.
Hmm.
Judges who are sleep deprived at nighttime are likely to give harsher fines, harsher sentences. We're not the same people. And I would say we're all better people when we're well rested. Barnes does studies on ethics and sleep deprivation, and we're less ethical, we're less moral when we're sleep deprived. I've done some work with business travelers and their sleep issues, but think of being out on the road and having less ethics and sort of the morals are out the window when you're sleep deprived. And then you're more likely to drink more alcohol, make bad decisions. I mean, see how all encompassing it is and
Yeah.
how it affects all of these things that you normally wouldn't think are affected.
It's just like sleep reaches all corners of our life. I want to circle back to the moms because I do feel like what you said about the virtue signaling is
Hmm.
spot on with a lot
Hmm.
of what we talk about in my communities.
Hmm.
But also, for people that are in a phase of their motherhood where it's normal for their kids to sleep through the night, it's
Hmm.
not uncommon. I have two junior high girls, and still, once in a blue moon, someone's up in the night for some reason,
Sure.
a
Sure.
growing pain. So when it's not habituated, but we do know, okay, I have a sleep debt. I can tell right away. I'm so big into sleep. My family, I'll be like, you guys, watch out because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to
Beware.
be my best today. Beware. Because I'm used to it. I love sleep.
And that's such great self-awareness. I love that.
But when on those days when me or any mom in my shoes knows, okay, my sleep got interrupted, what's the course of action when we're like, okay, I have a sleep debt. Now what?
So that's what's so critical because when we have sleep debt, okay, so the prefrontal cortex is affected and we don't have the self awareness and we don't have the insight. And the only way I think to overcome that is I think we have to have an open dialogue with every family member, coworker, and ask ourselves, could this be because I didn't sleep well last night? But preface things and say, you know what? I'm not going to make that trip to the grocery store because we're out of bread late at night because I'm not well rested, or I'm not going to have the extra, say, a alcoholic beverage because alcohol affects us even more when we're sleep deprived. I mean, which can be very, very dangerous. People say, well, I might have just, I've only had 2 drinks. I'm okay to drive. Well, if you haven't slept well a night or 2 nights or 3 nights or 4 nights, that effect is compounded. So I think we have to just have, I mean, it's got to be recognition or feeling comfortable. I know people always get upset. Well, if someone says you look tired, don't
Mm,
take that, don't take that as a diss, just say, thank you. Maybe I won't do that today. Or maybe, redo your work schedule. Or if something's going on with the kids or work, just something you have to do that requires careful analysis. Should I take a nap first? Or should
yeah.
I do it another day? Or should I ask someone else to deal with the children? We have to be proactive and very unapologetic for our biological need for sleep. It's a biological need. I wouldn't call you and say, Whitney, I only had 1 glass of water today and I did my run. I only 1 glass of water. I mean, it's stupid because we know how important hydration is. It's the same thing. We have to get away from that. I only got this, or I could only had time for that. I would bring up napping right now because I think we should look at napping as a way to save the day. If you're not doing well and you need to get something done or you feel terrible, I would qualify it to say a short nap, 20 to 30 minutes is probably ideal. And that way you won't have that sleep inertia that I mentioned previously, that grogginess when you wake up.
Mm.
Now, if you have to nap every day or can't get through the day without napping, talk to your healthcare provider. But naps can save the day. And I don't think we should look at those as something, to be embarrassed about, ashamed of. Just like I don't think needing sleep should be anything to be embarrassed about. It's not a weakness.
If possible, you would choose a nap over caffeine for a mom in the middle of the afternoon.
If possible. Mhm.
This is another interesting thing you've brought up. Okay, so this is a little bit of a different scenario that moms face. But for example, if you know your kids are having a sleepover and you're going to
Mhm.
be responsible and stay up. Now my kids are older. I'm like, I've got to stay up. Like
Yeah,
it's past
yeah,
my bedtime. It,
exactly.
you've talked a little bit about sleep banking where you
Mhm.
almost anticipate, or let's say, I mean, we have to balance this all in the real world of living a little bit. So let's say we
Sure
have
we
a
do.
holiday party coming up and we know we're
Yeah.
going to be up past our normal 10 or 11 or whatever it is for you. Is there a way to prepare for that in advance so that we are kind of protecting ourselves from a sleep
Yeah, I mean,
loss?
I think just avoiding any sleep loss at all possible. But even when people go on trips, we've done some research showing that they tend to start a trip sleep deprived because
Mm,
of the packing and all the arrangements. And I think that's a real critical thing. Well, then don't do it all at the last minute. start days ahead. I mean, it's sort of that executive, all that planning that goes on through our prefrontal cortex. Our ability to plan and to be organized is greatly enhanced with plenty of sleep. So start things earlier, take a nap, or say, I'm going to go to bed earlier tonight in preparation. Real life happens. The other night my dogs were barking at something. I don't know what was in the yard. God only knows, but my dogs were going crazy. It happens. But I'm going to take extra care the next day to be careful what I say to people, what I do. This happens all the time. If I have to get up super early, and it's usually a flight if I travel, I walk through an airport. I want to stop at every single Cinnabon little thing and buy, I crave sweets. I crave sodas. It's so weird. And that's after sleep deprivation. Just think of people that deal with that all the time. That's how their daily lives are. They're craving sweets and fats to get through the day. So then they end up with a weight problem. And when you don't get enough sleep, sleep is just so essential for maintaining a healthy weight and for weight loss. So I always know before I plan anything, if I arrive at my destination, it's nap time. And some people can nap more easily than others, but that's why I always carry the little sleep
Okay.
masks. Those help tremendously. Yeah.
Well, we're getting close to time. I feel like we covered a lot of territory, but I'm just wondering, as we come to a close, when you're thinking about my specific audience, it's busy moms who are juggling a lot. And if they're here, it's because they want to take care of their needs while being a present parent as well.
Sure.
Is there any essential, kind of simple sleep habits that you feel like you wish every woman could truly consider adopting?
I think the most important message I want to get across is I don't want anyone to think less of themselves because they need sleep. Needing sleep is it's a biological need. It's not a luxury. And I think we have to be vocal and say, I need help with this so I can get my sleep, or I won't be able to do that because I need my sleep. I mean, we have to guard it and protect it, just as we have to guard and protect our children's sleep. I look at sufficient sleep as a personal, as a family, as a workplace, and a classroom value. And I think when we start looking at this as I want to respect your sleep needs, my bed partner's sleep needs, my children, are we quiet? Are we respectful? Are the kids, do they understand we're going to be quiet while mom takes a quick nap? It's almost like a value that we have to instill and a respect. So we need to respect that need for sleep. And if you're going to cut corners on things, do it on doing the laundry, do it on dusting the house. Don't do it on sleep. It's that important because we are better parents. We're better employees. We're better employers. We're better disciplinarians. We're more patient. We're more loving. We're more grateful. So when you think of it in those terms, it's not just your self-care, it's caring for others is just incredibly impacted when we get that sleep. And I think it's worth trying because I know when people will do that and try it and make that so fundamental to their lives, they never go back. Bottom line is we are happier when we're well rested. It's a wonderful thing to experience.
Cannot be with you more. I always like to end my conversations with a chance for reflection. So, when it comes to protecting our sleep, what's one question women could be asking themselves more?
I guess it's a self-worth thing. We're worth it. And don't ever feel like you're not worth it and not worth living your best life and living a happy, fulfilled life and really achieving all of your dreams because it's so much more likely to, I think everything's more achievable and more accessible. And look at sleep as more of a self-care, like I said. And it's basically it keeps people back. We look at sleep as a social justice issue.
Mm.
Sleep deprivation and poverty are closely related. And I think we have to sort of break a lot of cycles in our culture that have just understated the importance of sleep and not given it the attention. I still can't get people to do any public service announcements about sleep, and I'll keep trying because I think it should be on the airwaves. I think we need, more sort of national sleep health days and really I think we need to have a strong voice and don't feel like you're being selfish or demanding to be saying, I need my sleep. And what can my employer do? What can my high school do for my kids to change the hours? I think it's not only a personal issue, but a social issue and an important one.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is so much to think on. I know that my listenership will want to connect with you and follow you and read your book and learn more. So, where's the best place to find you, Terry?
I'm on LinkedIn. I usually annoy everyone on LinkedIn with daily sleep postings and just get the latest things. And I'm on The Power of Sleep on X. And if anyone wants to reach me through the Better Sleep Council, I work with them as a spokesperson, and they do phenomenal surveys. They talk to people about sleep environment and how important the sleep environment is and the sleep surface. So they can reach me through the bettersleep.org website.
Thank you, Terry. This has been enlightening. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much, Whitney. What a pleasure.
I'm so glad you joined me today. If you're looking for more, feel free to connect with me on Instagram at @WhitneyWoman. And if you enjoyed the show, I invite you to support me by leaving a review or sharing it with a friend. Hope you have an inspired day.